And good morning, good evening, or good night, whatever it is, to Chip, DIY in the Ghetto, Sion, Alexi, Austin, who else have we got? Family Plans, and Simon, Michael, Justin, Illuminator. Did I miss anybody? Henrik, hey, echo, echo, echo. All right, does that mean my audio is screwed up? Hopefully I've only got one audio source at the moment. Gil is here, Imogen is here. Cool, everybody's beaming in, just like Michael. I acknowledge the traditional owners of this land, the Whadjuk Noongar peoples. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and to Aboriginal elders and peoples from other communities who may be taking part in this live stream today. I hope you're all having a fantastic 2023 so far. Sync looks good. Good. Incognito is here. Gim is here. Scott, sound like a normal Aussie to me. Yeah. I've got that horrible Aussie drawl. I can't stand the Aussie accent. Drives me nuts even when it comes out of my own mouth. Ah, Henrik, that's what it was. You had 2 streams running. You're watching me twice. Twice. Why would you do that to yourself? Michael, January 8th, where has the year gone? Yes, indeed. Where has it gone? Looking around like I'm looking for inspiration, because that's what I'm doing. Okay. A few catch-up things. Tradie Trev says, I've got a massive yobbo voice, lol. Okay. A few things. There is plenty more to do on the Wi-Fi access point project. Maybe we'll even look at some of that today. I don't know. But that has been such a focus for so long that I just wanted to have a session that was maybe a bit more random for a change. And we can introduce more of the spirit of Steve. I still need to put a little chin strap on this. Keeps falling off every time I grab it. And I need to mount him on the chair. Yes, I know. Just a chill session. Yes. So there are a few things. Oh, okay. This is totally off topic, but it's just seeing Steve reminded me. Yesterday, I went with my mum to help her buy a puppy. And hang on, I'm going to show you a picture because it's cute. It's a miniature Labradoodle. I'm just switching it up onto a different monitor. And where are we? We are there. There it is. So that's me holding her. She's tiny. She's like this big. And she's only going to grow to be a bit bigger than that, so a very, very small dog, but really cuddly and fluffy. So cute. What's still broken, Pete? Something you said, it's still broken, John. What's broken? The stream? Yeah. Such a cute little puppy. Right. So, Scott says looks like an expensive stuffed animal. Yeah. Yes. So, yeah, it's the competition. Who is cuter? Oh, Peter, your brain is broken. Oh, no. No. Oh, g'day, tourist. Yes, Peter is broken this morning. I hope that's only a temporary thing. What can we do, Pete? What can we talk about that'll help you feel better? Incognito is here too. Okay. Peter says, been working in JavaScript all last week. I've actually been doing a bit of JavaScript recently too, because I've been doing a web interface, like a phone interface for the water cannon, and not for control, like not for driving it around, but for configuration, like a factory management setup interface. So it allows us to do things like pull it up on your phone and then set the mode for the water valve, like whether it's a pneumatic valve or an electric valve, which means that the outputs for those particular, like the output channel for the valve driver has to change its mode, and there are a whole lot of config options on the water cannon. So it's in the past it's been configured by changing values in the config file, recompiling it and uploading the firmware, which really sucks. And we want to give customers the option of changing options, and so we've been working on an interface. So I've got an Ajaxified. In fact, it's not using Ajax. It's using Fetch, like the more modern JavaScript API for connecting to asynchronous services and getting updates and sending information. So yeah, I've been messing around with a bit of JavaScript in the last couple of weeks as well. Right. Family Plan says, did you ever get those stickers to work, the ones behind you in the storage boxes? Yeah, they were fully working in my old lab. And I did a video demonstrating them. Not a long one, it was only like a 1-minute video, just demonstrating asking for a box to be illuminated and then moving it to a new location and then asking for it to be illuminated and showing that the system knows where it was moved to. Yeah, but since then, like since moving into this new location, I just haven't got back to it. There's a Raspberry Pi. So in my old system, I had a few different walls, a few different locations where the plastic tubs were located, but the location system I set up on the shelves that were above the workbench, and I had the camera mounted on the opposite wall above my big wall of parts, the parts drawers, and the Raspberry Pi with the camera and the software on the SD card and everything, it's in a container. In fact, it's I had it out just a few days ago. It's over there somewhere, and the funny thing is that, of course, how do I find the box? It shows me how to find the boxes. There is somewhere here, there is a box called Tub Finder or Box Finder, something like that. It's around. It's around. That's the meta problem. I need to find the Tub Finder box to find the tubs. Yes. Yes, Family Plan says, I remember something about the LED strips on the shelves. Yes, in fact, the LED strips for that, it's interesting that you brought this up because I have been thinking about this for over the last couple of weeks. The period that I've had over the sort of the Christmas New Year break, I've been thinking a lot more about the factory because it's kind of stalled. It got to the point where it's functional, I can work in it, and that means that I just stopped doing things on it to make it better. And I've been taking this as an opportunity to really work on that and changing a few things around. In fact, let's see if I can get DroidCam running. DroidCam, and we'll see. No, I don't want to read the what's new thing. What's the IP 127? If I do this, am I going to get the other camera? No, I'm not. So for some reason, DroidCam is not coming up in OBS, but I can, it's because it's got the wrong IP. I am going to see, can I change it? No, I can't change it while it's in use. So let's see, hang on, I'm going to see if I can edit this. Wi-Fi IP, no. That's annoying. I think it's because surely I can edit that while, okay. I probably can't edit it while it's the active thing. No. Alright, well this is probably a, oh hang on. Maybe I need to unlock it. This is riveting, isn't it? Me messing around in OBS. Properties, no. I can't edit it. That's really strange. Anyway, I'm going to give up on that and get out of DroidCam. And kill droid cam so it doesn't kill my battery. Right. Yeah, what I was going to do was just show you a few things. I've done some cleaning up in the mechanical area and rearranged in there. I've got the welding bench that I just painted a couple of days ago, painted the frame for it, brought it back inside because it was sitting in the driveway. And what else? I cleared the table that is just inside the front door. That did have the Mickle Make It pick and place machine on it. That has now moved into the cleanish room party tent, and that is so that I can clear that front table because I want to set that up as an interview area. And I've hung a quilt on the wall, which has quite a story to it, but I'll tell you about that some other time when I can show you. It's a quilt that I was given at an LCA many years ago with signatures from all of the speakers on it. And what else? Oh yes, I bought an air conditioner. So I'm going to have to rebuild the front area, the front door and window area, which is all a bit of a mess. That's one part of this room that I've just left. I haven't done anything to it at all because I knew that I was going to have to like sand back the frame, paint everything, make it all nice and fresh. But I didn't want to do that until I'd figured out the air conditioner situation, because I didn't know if I'd have to modify it to put an air conditioner in the front there, and I do, which means I've got to rip out one of the large window sections and reframe it, and probably laser cut a new piece of like plastic to go in place of the glass and make it fit the shape. So I'll get the air conditioner in there as well, because we're into that time of year where that kind of matters. Oh, okay. Sion says you missed the start. You haven't missed anything. It's been me blathering away about nothing in particular. Incognito, interesting question. Do you enjoy the programming side of things, or does that just get in the way of playing with the hardware? I really like both. I spent so my original interest back when I was a kid was in the hardware, and I just assumed that that's what I would always be doing. And it was only really when I got to uni that I discovered that I could also code. And well, I didn't really discover it. Anyway, I discovered that that was something that I could also do that was useful. And because I'd been programming since whenever, when I was little. But where am I going with this thought? I don't know. I like both of them, and I suppose what I like, this is part of my whole, ADHD brain, go with the flow sort of thing. When I like being able to jump between them, and I also like the insight that working on both sides of it gives me. And which do I find more satisfying? I suppose it depends on what sort of mood I'm in. Now this is going to I'm trying to figure out how to say this in a way that isn't going to be too controversial or insulting. I suppose just because I find programming harder, not really harder, more complex in terms of more things to juggle in my mind at the same time. If I'm tired, I prefer to do hardware. Like if I'm not really feeling sharp and in a problem solving sort of mode, I find that doing hardware design, particularly board layout, because there's not really so much thinking in that, it's just it's puzzle solving or maze solving. If I'm feeling a bit blur and can't really engage my brain properly, and I've got a design where the schematic is already done, because there's a lot more thought that has to go into the schematic than into the PCB layout. sitting there laying out a PCB can be really relaxing, and I just enjoy doing that. I'll sit there because I can be listening to a podcast or something and my brain can be wandering, and I'll be sitting there just solving the puzzle, making all the tracks fit and getting everything into the right place. But if I Stephen says layout is a multi-level connect the dots. Yeah. So I suppose because I'm not so good at programming. I spent a long time, many years doing it, but I feel like a total beginner constantly. I feel like a beginner with hardware as well, but with software or with coding, it seems like one of those areas where it is so broad and so deep that there is no way to know everything. No way anyone can know everything. And there's no way to know, you can't even know a lot in a particular area, not unless you're like crazy smart. So I always feel like I'm out of my depth. And that can be fine a lot of the time, because part of what drives me, I suppose, is always learning new things. I always want to be discovering something new. If I'm just doing something repetitive, like doing repetitive tasks has a place. And for me, that's really important. Sometimes my brain is in that mode where I just want to do a repetitive task, and like soldering a whole lot of things on, soldering a bunch of connectors on and not having to think about it. You know, sometimes when I'm just drained, that's all I can handle. I just want to sit there and do the same thing over and over again, and let my mind wander onto other things, because I can't engage deeply with a problem. And sometimes I can engage deeply with a problem, particularly in programming, and start digging into all of the little aspects of it and building that big house of cards in my mind with all of the moving parts that have to fit together and how they relate to each other. But that really takes getting into the flow state and hyperfocus. And so something that I've really been learning a lot more about myself over the last 6 months plus is the way my brain goes into these different states. And sometimes I can... So I did that live stream a while ago where I was talking about what is ADHD, and the description of it, that it is not a lack of attention, it's a lack of ability to direct your attention, which can mean that you can't engage your attention effectively, or it can mean that you can't disengage your attention and you become focused and obsessed. So I can have those modes. Sometimes I just can't engage myself. Like I've got these things I need to do, and it's like I try to focus and I just keep skating off them, and I can't engage with the problems and solve them. It's like a blindness. Other times I will get engaged with a problem, get into that flow state, and I can't disengage. I will just grind on it, and it is all consuming, and that is where my focus is, and I can't change my focus or break my attention away from that. So those are the two. They seem totally contradictory, and they are totally opposite in terms of the way, like operational modes, it's being on two ends of a spectrum or a scale, and being either at this end or like flip-flopping between the two. So being at this end or at that end. One is hyper-focus and you can't get off the subject that you're engaged with, and the other is lack of focus and you can't engage with anything. And for more, what's the term? For a more regular brain, it sits somewhere more in the middle, and it's able to engage itself with problems when it needs to and disengage and move to something else when it needs to, rather than this slightly less regulated jumping between hyperfocus and lack of focus, which is what I have. So This is in classic fashion. This has got kind of diverted from the original point, which was, what was the question? It was about, do I find programming a distraction from working on hardware? I think it was something like that. So I think this is because I do this sort of flip-flop between these two different modes. I think that's why I enjoy the combination of hardware and software as well, because I can radically switch tasks to suit the way my brain is working at the time, and provided I can continue making progress on both sides of things, like if I've got a project that is a combination of hardware and software, which pretty much everything that I do is, as long as I can keep making progress on both parts of that, I can keep progressing the firmware, keep progressing the hardware, then I can make overall progress on the project. So yeah. I have been ignoring the comments again. I will do a quick skim back through, not going all the way back. Dentistry is cool. Nice to see you here. I can 100% relate to that. I much prefer the making part, whether designing boards or parts, than programming. I do enjoy programming, but not as good as the other two. Yeah. Dodgy's here too. Austin says, I don't mind programming, I just hate tracking others' terribly written examples or bad libraries. Yeah. I'm imagining a squirrel that I can chase down that track as well, but I will avoid that for now. Imogen says, my ADHD brain will only be able to grasp concepts in programs if it's something I need in order to move forward with a project. Oh, interesting. Scott. Alright, this is a warning from Scott. Nobody say or do anything interesting for a bit, just got called to dinner. Okay, we will all sit in here and wait for you, Scott. Okay, just going down. Where am I? Chip replying to Imogen said, because you're motivated and interested in it. Yeah, it is. Okay, so that comes down to the 4 things, which I've talked about before, I think a couple of times. I've got to try to remember what they are now. For someone with ADHD to engage with a task or with a subject, it needs to be interesting, novel, challenging, or urgent. One of those 4 things. Or more than one of those 4 things. Something that's interesting, urgent, challenging, and novel is like, oh yeah, got to get into that one. Michael says, I can sit down for a quick coding session and suddenly it's 3 a.m. Yes, exactly. You you get into that flow state, the hyper-focus. And my client says, other times I give up in 5 minutes. Yeah. That's the sort of thing that can lead to frustration as well. And I've been learning to let that go to some extent. In the past, historically, I've become really frustrated with myself because there are these times. Often I will end up in that hyper-focus state. I will get into a flow state where I am engaged with a problem, working on it, trying to, I can see all the wrinkles and building up this big mental model in my head of what it is. And other times it's like I can sit there and read the words. Sometimes you can be reading a book and you read a sentence or a couple of sentences and you get to the end and you think, I've got not the faintest idea what I just read. The words sort of go into your eyes and they don't go any further. Your brain just doesn't engage with them. That's what it feels like sometimes. I'll be looking at a problem. I might have some source code open in front of me, and I will be thinking, okay, I need to solve this particular bug, or I need to add this feature. And I'll be looking at it and going, yeah, I need to work, it's in this function here, and 15 minutes will go past and I'll realize that I don't even have any idea what I'm looking at. And I just can't get my brain into that state. And that used to really, really frustrate me. So this is where I do task jumping now. And I try to keep things around, like, trying to think of examples, I don't know. I try to do things like have some boards sitting in trays that need headers soldered on. Coming back to that example earlier, but they're not urgent. It doesn't really matter if they're not done now. But if I get into a state where I just can't engage with a problem, then I can go, oh, all right, I will stop fighting myself on that, pull those boards down, just start putting some headers on and listen to a podcast. And at least I'm doing something productive, even if it's not the original thing that I was trying to engage with, until I get past that phase and I can engage my brain some more. The other, the real default thing that I have, and this is one of my my workshop organization mantras, is if in doubt, clean. And that is, if I'm here and I'm fighting with something, well, fighting with my brain because I can't get it to engage with a problem, and I am just driving myself nuts, what I can do is just start cleaning up. Like, just start putting stuff away, rearrange the tools, straighten up stuff on the shelves, clean the floor, whatever it is. Hang up leads that should be up on the rack. And that way, I find that doing that gives a sense of satisfaction. It's not something I have to think about. It's a job that generally is just a matter of putting things back in the places they should have been in the first place and making sure that everything is neat. But it's like it allows me to keep moving forward and making things better when I can't be making things better in other ways. Oh, I just realized that I have not I had stopped the scroll on the chat, so I've missed a whole lot of things. Yes. Oh, Amanda said ADHD success feeds the beast to dopamine, making the ADHD brain wanting more. Yes. Oh, Ray is here as well. Yeah. Chip says, I think I've been in crisis mode so long I struggle to return to my normal mode. Yeah. Crisis mode. It's tough to deal with. Yeah, I feel for you, Chip. Incognito says, I'm more of the programming, although if I had a proper workspace set up rather than needing to pull stuff out and set up on the dining room table, then I might enjoy pulling out the soldering iron more. Yeah, that actually touches on another thing. Okay, maybe I'll get slightly off this topic now. Let's deviate from the topic of ADHD and chase something else, chase another squirrel. I was talking earlier about the tub finder thing, and I need to do a video about that. I need to set it up and then do a video explaining that. But I also have stuff here because I've been getting myself back to the point of producing videos again. And Incognito's comment about the difficulty of doing things when you have to pull stuff out onto the kitchen table ties into something else. And a moment ago, I mentioned one of my lab management mantras is, if in doubt, clean. I have a whole list of those things. And must be about a year ago, I started making a video explaining them. So it's a whole lot of little sayings and principles which you can use to organize your workspace to make it more effective. And I started making a video about it, never finished it, and I need to get back to it. But I also need to get back to the videos about Tasmota conversion for where are we? I had the box out. I started this series, in classic mode. I started a series, didn't finish the series, and it was... Dentistry says, in this principles video, could you include a tour of the new Super Lab? Well, there'll be parts of it shown off just as a result of that. Hang on, I am just looking something up, because I will drop the links in here. Okay, so I started this series ages ago. This one is what is Tuya, and then I did another one which was copy link address. This one, I'm dropping these in the chat for anybody that's watching the video and wondering what's going on. Watch the live chat and then you'll see the links. So these were the first two in what I plan to be a series of 4 videos about converting Tuya devices to running Tasmota, so that we can do local control using MQTT, get off the Tuya cloud service, not be reliant on any external systems. And so I recorded and released the first 2 videos. The third video I actually almost entirely filmed. I've got it in Final Cut Pro, and it is just about in a state where it could be released. And a couple of days ago I went back to look at it and I hated it. I watched myself in it and yeah, I'd be embarrassed to release it. So I've decided I'm going to film that entire video again from scratch, and that is my next task. Now the thing is that particular video, these videos about doing Tuya conversion are workbench videos. They are videos where I am switching between explaining stuff to the camera, using diagrams like on-screen diagrams, showing the Tasmota conversion process on screen with the software, so I've got to do screen capture, and soldering and showing things on the bench using the overhead camera, and even at some points using the microscope. So there are all these different video sources, and when I was doing the first videos in the series, and the one that I haven't released yet, it was incredibly painful. It was so much of so annoying to start all of the cameras running, all recording to their own SD cards, start screen capture on my computer, and be recording audio, do whatever I needed to do, and then pull all of those things into Final Cut, synchronize them, and then do the edit, like a multi-camera edit. It was really, really painful. And now that I've got this new 8M, the Extreme ISO, which can capture all of those inputs at the same time and record them all to disk independently, and then I can pull them either into Final Cut or into Resolve. That's right, Blackmagic Resolve. It's going to make the process of recording that sort of video so much easier. So thank you again to to the anonymous donor. I won't mention who it is. The anonymous donor who sent me the 8M Mini Extreme ISO, which is what I'm using for this live stream right now. That was such an incredibly generous thing, and yeah, I'm still kind of stunned that that happened. It happened at a really, really rough time when I was feeling very down, and that arrived. Yeah, Tassie Bob says the multicam stuff in Resolve works quite well. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, Austin says, I mostly look for suppliers that sell items with Tasmota pre-baked in. Far too many smart devices with 2-year these days are a pain in the ass, but they've also been changing the main IC being used. Yes, and that is why, in fact, okay, just to give the roadmap, the 4-part 2-year conversion video series. This is the sequence. Episode 1 is what is 2-year anyway. So it's just explaining to you the ecosystem, the different modules that manufacturers can use to build into their devices, etc. And then the next 3 episodes are about how you convert away from 2-year to Tasmota, the open source firmware. The first conversion, so episode 2, is over-the-air conversion with 2-year convert. If you can get away with it, that is the easiest way to do it. Just over-the-air update, replace the 2-year firmware, put Tasmota onto it. Awesome, that's fantastic. But there are only very limited situations in which you can do that. The second conversion video, so video 3, this is the one that I have filmed and I've decided I'm going to refilm, is serial flashing. So that's where the device still has an ESP chip in it, so ESP8266 or 8285, but you can't do over-the-air convert because they blocked it with a firmware patch, and you need to actually make a connection to it and put it into bootloader mode. So I've done a video about that, and so I've got, in the video I've got like little conversion harnesses and stuff that you solder onto the target device, and then you can flash it and with Tasmatizer or whatever, and that gets around their firmware patches, but that only works if it still has an ESP8266 in it, and a lot of 2-year devices now don't, and that is where episode 4 comes in, which is the third conversion method. And that is where you lift the 2-year module off the PCB and replace it with an ESP8266 module. And there are a few different ways to do that. Either putting a module directly onto the PCB if it's footprint compatible, which it can be in some cases, or using an external module, or even something like a Wemos D1 Mini jumpered to the main PCB. So that's video 4. So the idea is that with that 4-video series, it takes you through the basics of explaining what 2-year devices are and why you'd want to convert them to Tasmota, and then the 3 methods that you can use to do that, from easiest to hardest, depending on whether you can just do it over the air, or you need a serial connection, or you have to actually replace the chip in the most extreme case, which is pretty much always the way now. And what I've got right here, this one right here, this is a DETA smart Wi-Fi light switch. This is one that used to be sold in Australia with an Espressif chip in it, and they first did the firmware change, so they started shipping them with firmware that could no longer be OTA replaced, and then they replaced the Espressif modules. So this specific one that I've got in my hand right now has a beacon based module in it, which does not run Tasmota in no way, shape or form. It's just impossible. You cannot put Tasmota on this. So you have to actually remove the module, replace it with an ESP8266, and then you can run Tasmota. So this is the test device, the demo device for the 4th video. Yeah, Incognito. This is an interesting area. It says, a pity most of this stuff is not Oz certified. I would love a Tasmota or ESP home-based light switch I could pay an electrician to install. They, Tradie Trev says they've probably done that after watching my video, right? Yeah, well the thing is that these are Australian certified. You can go and buy them in Bunnings. The thing is that once you open it and replace the microcontroller, not so certified, but if you do a good job, you actually could not even really tell. It's just that you can open this up, replace the microcontroller, close it back up again, and from an external point of view, you still have an Australian certified device. Don't tell anyone I said that. This isn't public, is it? Yeah. Ooh. Gil says there is now a Tasmota-like alternative firmware for the beacon chips. Ah, interesting. So the other thing is that there is also... I've gone blank on what it's called. It's so long since I was looking at this. To your local, I think it is. There is like what you can do is leave the original 2-year firmware in place. So you can use a 2-year device, and basically you just fake out its connection to the 2-year cloud. So that's another way that you can do some integration. Yeah. Yeah, Trady says, all we care... Oh. I was about to read out Trady's comment and then it got retracted. I wonder if that was a sudden... oh, I'd better not... Oh no, there we go. It is there. Yes. Okay. Oh, Michael says, until I start cert pinning. Yeah. SSL cert pinning. An electrician's perspective, all we care about is that triangle tick. Yeah. So this thing has the Australian standard thingy, wherever it is. Oh, there it is. Not that you'll be able to see, but just under there, molded into the plastic, is a little triangle with the tick in it, saying that it's all okay. Now there was someone asked a question just further back. Where is it? Johan said, I think I've never heard you talk about Home Assistant. Do you use it or do you use OpenHab? Right now I use neither. I have installed Home Assistant. In fact, I have a VM on my Synology NAS with Home Assistant on it. But right now the VM isn't. No, it's not a VM. It's just a Docker container. But right now it's not even running. And I have had it installed on a Raspberry Pi as well a couple of times in the past, using OpenHabian, and also like just a direct install onto like a, what was it, on Debian or something. I can't remember what I was running. But I have tried to get into Home Assistant, and it breaks my brain. I think just the way I think about things does not suit the Home Assistant paradigm. The way it does its auto discovery, it just seems... I don't like things where I can't control it directly. I want to be able to just edit a config file and make it do what I want. And Home Assistant seems very oriented around the model of, we have these supported devices, and if you plug those in, everything will just work, which is fine for those devices. But I end up messing around with things that are one-offs and strange things. And yes. And I know there'll be people that are saying, yes, you can just edit the Home Assistant config files and mess around with the YAML, but I've tried. I just don't like it. It's not for me. It's an amazing project, and I totally understand why so many people love it, but at the moment it's not for me. Maybe it will be another time. OpenHab in the early days I used, like through the 1 series and then a little bit into the 2 series, but OpenHab seemed to very much become like it really went down the path of Home Assistant. It became much more of a case of plug it in, auto discover these devices, you've got them in your inbox, now you can associate them with things, and yeah, just not what I wanted to do. I just saw a mention of Node-RED. Austin said most of my stuff runs in Node-RED. Yeah, so at the moment everything in here runs Node-RED. That is my primary logic core. MQTT as the messaging system, and then the beauty of MQTT is that you've got this big switchboard of inputs and outputs, and you can receive messages from some places and send messages out on other places without needing to know how they're implemented. And you can and you're not limited to doing it in just one way. Whatever it is that can talk to MQTT can deal with it. So I really like that. Yeah, Michael says Node-RED plus MQTT is still my go-to. Yeah. Chip says, I can't get past relay to relay logic. I guess I'm still in the realm of Babbage. No, hang on. Babbage was pre-relay, I think, unless I'm misremembering. I think Babbage was all mechanical. Levers and cams and gears and even, yes. Yeah, Michael says, my garage door sends me a Slack message when it opens or closes via MQTT and Node-RED and the Slack API. Johan says, there is a Node-RED add-on for Home Assistant as well, but you probably already know that. Yep. Yeah. There are... Oh, you did squirrel me. I was about to go down this path. Doji says, sorry to squirrel your squirrel, but is ADHD part of ASD? Firstly, I've got to say I'm not qualified to answer that question. But I think the simple answer is no. And the slightly more complex answer is that ASD and ADHD in themselves are not one specific thing each. They are labels that are applied to collections of characteristics, and those characteristics can be on multiple axes. So it's complicated. It's not a binary situation. So there can be characteristics which are indicative of ASD and ADHD, but then it's not saying that you have one, therefore you have the other. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Scott says even ADHD isn't one thing. Exactly. It's very... yes. So, Xeon puts it well. No, not part of ASD, but often found together. Generally, folks with ASD often have what yours and I call and friend. ASD plus ADHD plus anxiety, for instance, is super common. Yeah, that's right. They are both considered neurodivergent. Yeah, they're just... Scott says, my son is seriously ADD, but no HD at all. Yeah, there are many aspects to it. It's a complex thing. I need to learn more about it. I need to start looking into it a bit more and read some more about it. I'm kind of brain locked right now because I don't know what thread to follow on that subject. Yeah. Oh, Ray Burn said there's a whole spectrum. Yeah. The thing is that it's more than just a spectrum. It's many spectra, whatever the plural of spectrum is. It's like I talked about this when I did my my stream talking about neurodivergence and ADHD. It's like a spider graph which has lots and lots of axes, and you might be way out here on one axis and then close to the center on a different axis. So yeah, brains are complex. There's hang on, I'm going to find something. The way I've heard lots and lots of different descriptions for the human brain. And the one that I like is that the human brain is a bag of salt water that has been tricked into thinking. Yeah, the human brain really is just a bag of salt water. It is incredible that we function at all. The fact that I can be sitting here having this conversation and it's being directed by little electrical impulses which are firing inside this bag of salt water that's stuck inside my skull, and that you are receiving what I'm saying and processing it. I can't believe the system even works. It shouldn't work. It is such a fragile and bizarre thing that I was looking for a quote. For a while now I've been collecting memes and things that I come across. I'm just scrolling down now through a whole list of images. There's there was some thing I came across which was I'm going to try to paraphrase it. I'm going to do a really bad job of it, but it was basically that we are all dust, and how does it go? Something like we are dust that has been tricked into thinking about itself. And yeah, anyway. Scott says the system doesn't actually work, it's just that our brains fool us into thinking it does. Yeah. Amanda. Yes, this is a good point. Okay. Amanda had has a link, and I'm going to re-link it. I'm going to drop it in the chat as well, just to make it easy for everybody to find, which is the How to ADHD channel on YouTube. And I found that very helpful as well. It's a channel of lots of little bite-sized discussions of different topics related to ADHD and the reality of living with it and how to deal with it, and different strategies and tools and all that sort of thing. Yes, it's a good channel. Right. Yeah, okay, now let's do a subject change. The thing that I'm just going to close something else up here. Oh, I just saw something in a tab that I had open to remind myself of it. Yes, I'll get back to that. Let's have a look at this. Now, I've just been thinking recently. Oh, look, you can see my search history. Uint32T does not name a type. Yeah, frustrations. I will search for RFID tattoo. No, I don't want a tattoo that is RFID. I want a tattoo that represents RFID. Yeah, when I just do a search for RFID tattoo, it shows all these images of things like metallized ink and stuff where it is actually the tattoo is functional. Oh, no, this is more the kind of concept that I had in mind. Some representation of the fact that there is an RFID chip or an NFC chip that has been implanted. I probably should have put a content warning on before I started scrolling through this stuff, shouldn't I? Oh yeah, there's another one. That's interesting. It's like a Z and then what is that symbol? I don't know. But that's the general idea. Because what I've been thinking recently is I want to get a tattoo on my arm, just here, where the RFID chip is. And I can't believe it's been in there 16 years now. It still works. It should work as long as I do. My batteries will go flat before that chip dies, I hope. Anyway, so look at this. This is a throwback to the discussion from earlier. Yeah, stick it on my head. Scan here. That's a cool one. Scan here. No, I don't really like the text of that. But the idea is, I just wanted to get something on my arm to represent where it is, and maybe have like a yeah, try the RFID logo. Yes. Michael, thank you for getting me back on track. So I was saying earlier, I did the search for RFID tattoo and it came up with all these other things, but hang on. RFID logo. That's what I want. Yeah, something like this. So there are these sorts of symbols, maybe something like this. Because it's going to be quite small, it can't be too complex. Maybe like this sort of thing. Could be like that, except that it's the other way around, because this is showing where you scan a card, and this is not a reader, it's the tag itself. Anyway, if people have suggestions, yeah, QR code tattoo. Yes, I want to do that. After talking to someone, oh, wireless logo. Okay, there are a bunch of things. I don't want to miss too much here in the chat. So Stephen said, just go for the standard wireless logo. Yeah, wireless, like a signal strength thing. Yes, that's the sort of thing I had thought about as well. The shape of it, though, doesn't really lend itself that well. I suppose it could be something like this, like a double-sided wireless signal strength. But I think, yeah, so the thing is that where would it be located? Would the chip be directly under the center of it? Would it be where the dot is? I don't know. It could be, yeah, the wireless, like a signal strength logo. Let's look for that. Signal strength logo. Yeah, could even be that sort of thing, like bars of connection strength where the dot is. Yeah. Dodgy said, how about X marks the spot? Like a prison tattoo, just an X. So getting back to what Keith said, QR code tattoo. Yes, I want to do that. What I want to do is, hang on, let's have a look at QR code generator. It's going to depend on how complex the QR code has to be, because there is only a certain amount of detail that you can have. And now, if I wanted to make, for example, I've got, so I now own the oxer.au domain. So say I wanted to make it URL, and I wanted to make it oxer. I want to make it as simple as possible because I want the QR code to go somewhere. With logo, no. If you can see that the code on the right that is being generated is getting simpler as there are fewer characters. So well, down to a certain point. It's not getting any simpler now. So if I went to oxer.au, then this is what the QR code would look like. Any mule says QR code which says scan RFID here. Yeah, and Dodgy says, and tattoo smudge over time. That's right. Yeah. Incognito asked, can you safely tattoo over the chip without risk of breaking it or injury? That's a very good question. The short answer is yes, because the chip is below, like it's in the subcutaneous fat layer, and it should be safe. Not that I have much fat these days. My body fat percentage is quite low. So this, if I just did oxer.au with nothing else, that's what it would look like. If I did, I'll just add like a single character after it, like G for go, or R. I don't know what it could be. Make it A. Or J for me. A. It doesn't matter what it is. It just needs to be something that's not going to hog the entire domain. Because what I want to do, okay, backing up and explaining this, what I want to do is put a URL on here which goes to an address that I control so that I can have my own redirection service. So this, if you go to this link, it could end up actually redirecting you to Superhouse or to whatever. It doesn't matter. The whole point is I don't want to have a URL that goes to a specific thing that I can't change, because what if that thing is then no longer available? And I mentioned this, I think, on a previous live stream. I was talking to someone about this recently, and she said that she had a friend who had a QR code which was to her Spotify playlist. So she could just scan the tattoo and end up on Spotify, on the playlist. But the thing is that what if Spotify goes away? It needs to be something that is going to have longevity. What if Spotify changed the structure of their URLs? I mean, there are all sorts of things that could be done that would just break it and make it totally useless. So in order to future-proof it, what I would want to do is have it go to a URL that is under my control and that is generic. All it is a starting point. It's just, if you go to this place, if you go to this URL, then you get bounced to wherever it is that I want this thing to go to ultimately. Simon says you can print on transfer like tattoo and change when fades in a few days and select the one you like. Yeah, that's a good idea for just experimenting with it and seeing if it feels okay. Michael says extra points if the tattoo changes respective of actual signal strength. Oh, I would love that. That would be so cool. Scott suggested a QR code that scans too. Scanning random QR codes can wreck your phone. Yes, it absolutely. Yes, it can. That's actually one of the interesting side effects of, well, yeah, this is a whole squirrel to chase. In China, scanning QR codes became normalized very, very quickly because it's used for payments at like food carts and things. Basically, in China, if you are using, like if you're paying for stuff with your phone, then you'll be walking around scanning QR codes all day long. And it becomes so normalized that you don't even think that it's anything unusual. And it was interesting when the COVID pandemic started here in Australia, and we had check-ins at different venues and things. So we had an app where if you wanted to go into a place, you had to scan the QR code, and that would log the fact that you had gone to that place, and then they could look for cross infections and all that sort of thing. Anyway, not going to get into that. But the point is that because people started, like here in Australia, QR codes were kind of a niche thing until COVID. And COVID really took them, I think most of the population had no idea what a QR code was until COVID. Probably had seen one a couple of times and thought, oh, what's that weird squiggly thing, and then never given it a second thought. And then once we started doing all of the COVID check-ins, there were QR codes everywhere, and everybody's walking around scanning QR codes, and it just becomes normalized. And the reality is that QR codes can do really, really bad things, because it's essentially like giving someone your computer keyboard and saying, type a URL into the address bar and go there, and without any foreknowledge of where it's going to go. It's giving someone the ability to take you anywhere. And where that anywhere is could be good, or it could be malicious. So I think one of the downfalls of QR codes in general, the way they are implemented, is that not having any human readability of it means that you are totally trusting the system. When you scan a QR code, you are trusting that it's not a malicious code that is going to do something that you really don't like. right. Stephen says the degradation over time will ruin it as the ink breaks down and spreads. Yeah, that is true. So maybe a QR code tattoo is not a good idea, particularly. So I hadn't actually tried this. I wanted to see how complicated a frame. Let's put it in a frame. Scan me. It's very insistent. No, go away. I just wanted to see how complicated it was, and that is more complicated than I was expecting or hoping for. Can I do create QR code for this page? No. I was just wanting to open that image, but it okay, download JPEG. Customize and download? No. Yeah, I do actually have a login at this QR code generator because I've used it in the past. Does it have it remembered in my browser? No, it does not. Okay, forget that. Anyway, what I was just trying to do was show... okay. Generate it, that's it. I just wanted to see how complicated the QR code would be. And this is more complicated than I wanted, because to make this legible, it would need to be, like as a tattoo, this would need to be moderately large. And it's got quite a few fine features in here. I think it would be very easy to screw this up. Screw it up when the tattoo is being done, and also for it to break down over time and lose definition around some of these areas. Oh, Amori, you're here. Good evening, not staying long. You've you just jumped in to say hi. And also you need a rather good tattoo artist. Yeah, it would need to be accurate. So the way with complex designs, or with most tattoo designs, it's typically done by making a template and sticking... Anyway, I'm going to do a terrible job of explaining this. Like a transfer that goes onto your skin as a guide. So often the artwork is created on the computer and then printed out onto like a transfer sheet, and then the transfer sheet goes onto the skin, and then the tattoo artist can use that transfer on the skin as a guide to make sure that the design is what the customer wants. So I expect that that's what would happen. So what I would do is generate the QR code, and then the tattoo place would just print this on the transfer sheet, stick the transfer sheet on my arm, or wherever, and then tattoo over the template. But you're right that it is very fine, and you would need a good tattoo artist to follow the accurate shape of that. Right. Amanda said 50 minutes to lunch. Yeah. On the Flipper Zero, does it worry you? Tradie Trev said, what's your thoughts on the Flipper Zero and does it worry me? So the Flipper Zero is a really, really cool little device. And Peter showed me his Flipper Zero. Do not misread that. When he was in Melbourne recently for reasons. Yeah, except all cookies. I like cookies. So Flipper Zero, multi-tool device for geeks. I hadn't even heard of this until Peter showed it to me, and it is a very, very interesting little tool. Austin says, I'd love to have a Flipper to play with. Yeah. Does it worry me? Not really. So, okay, before I get back to answering that question, a little bit more of an explanation. It is a device, so I'm going to do a bad job of explaining this, but what I understand basically is that it is a little device with different radios and things in it that allows it to it allows you to play with RF and I/O pins, and it's got a display on it. So it's like a little self-contained dev system, and it's got, where are we? So it's got an RFID reader in it. Here we go. Sub 1 gigahertz transceiver. And so it's got integrated 433 megahertz antenna. It's a transceiver, which means you can do things like, so you can do different modulation, 2FSK, 4FSK, GFSK, MSK, OOK, ASK, etc. So all the standard, modulation schemes that are used for basic things. It's got 125 kilohertz RFID built in, NFC built in, Bluetooth built in, infrared transceiver. So a lot of it, just based on what I've seen, a lot of the point of Flipper Zero is communications. It's a way of either receiving or transmitting arbitrary signals. And if we keep going down, what else? So we've got micro SD card, tools for hardware exploration, iButton, so it's got an interface for a one-wire bus on there. It's built in. You can see it's got a little pogo pin sticking through, so you can tap a one-wire device on there. It's so it's based on an ARM Cortex M4 and an ARM Cortex M0 Plus. So it's got 2 MCUs in it, all sorts of stuff. Anyway, very, very flexible little device, particularly if you're wanting to play around with the radio side of things. So it can be used for doing things like replay attacks. You can receive a radio signal and then transmit that signal back again, which in many cases, like some garage doors, etc. And notably, the fuel, like the charger covers on Teslas, you can pop open using one of these, because you can send the radio signal that tells the Tesla that it needs to open its charger cover. And if you have that particular code stored in your Flipper Zero, you can sit there and pop chargers on Teslas as they drive past. And you can scan RFID. And when I saw Peter in Melbourne, he used this. So this is a 125 kilohertz RFID reader, and my RFID implant is a 134.2 kilohertz implant, which is the ISO standard for implantable RFID. 125 kilohertz is the oddball. Excuse me, a sudden sneeze came on. I only just made it to the mute button. At least I hope I made it to the mute button. So, anyway, just as a, I saw that this did 125 kilohertz ID. So, as just almost like a joke, I thought, oh, I'll see if it'll scan my tag, and I chucked it on my arm, and it scanned my implant. So Peter's Flipper Zero now has my RFID chip ID stored in it, which means that Peter can now do a replay attack and pretend to be me. Oh, at least he can pretend to be my RFID implant by replaying the code that comes out of it. Because the particular implant that I have it's a very old one. Like, as I said, I did the implant 16 years ago. In fact, yeah, I'd have to look up the date. But it was about 16 years ago, and it's very, very old technology. It's just, there is no protection on it. The whole point of it is that it was a pet implant, like a pet ID implant, and they shouldn't be protected, because if an animal is lost, then you want any vet or any relevant service to be able to scan the RFID tag and get its ID and then look it up in the registry. So there's no point protecting that. And Michael says Peter Oxer, yep. And so, where was I going? Brain derailment. Okay, let's see if we can get my brain back on track. Yeah, so there's no protection, and the result is that as soon as one of these old, very, very simple RFID tags has been scanned, any device that scans it now has the code and therefore has the ability to reproduce the code. There is zero protection on it. So if someone walked up to me and slapped an RFID reader on my arm, they could read the chip in my arm and they've got the code. So the whole, I know for many, many years, basically like for 16 years, I've had people saying to me, when they find out that I've got the RFID implant, they'll say, oh, people will just cut off your arm to take the chip and then they can use that to get in. No, there are way, way easier things to do. Yeah, you don't have to go to that much trouble. If you want to clone a basic 125 kilohertz access card, it is so easy. You can read them from a distance. You can clone someone's card out of their pocket without them even knowing. You just got to be near them for a few seconds, and you can swipe the code off the card, and then you can replay it. And it's really only more recent systems that have had any form of protection against that. It's yeah, like any kind of handshaking. With more modern systems, it's a two-way handshake, and what happens is that the card itself or the device will not authenticate to a reader that it does not recognize. So you can't just walk up to it with a random reader and say, hey, tell me your code, and it responds. Yeah. Michael says no handshaking if the arm is removed. Dark. Yes, not even a one-way handshake. Let alone a two-way handshake. Austin says, you know it's a problem when they wouldn't let Mythbusters anywhere near the topic. Now, so anyway, the point of all of this was getting back to that original question. Someone asked, I can't remember who it was it Tassie? Trady Trav said, what's your thoughts on the Flipper Zero? Does it worry you? It doesn't worry me, because what it really does is just make stuff easy and convenient. The things that you can do with a Flipper Zero, people have already been able to do for a long time. If someone wanted to clone my RFID tag, they could have done it any time in the last 16 years with available technology. And a couple of times I've almost slipped and like doxed myself. Like making a video, there have been some videos I've done talking about RFID and showing it reading, and I've done things like I had an Arduino wired up to an RFID reader module, and then with the serial console I was echoing all of the tags that it reads. And there was a video I made a while ago where I was doing screen capture, and I screen captured my own RFID tag being read, and then when I was editing it in Final Cut Pro, I was seeing the console in the video, and I realized that actually just exposed my ID. And I think I ended up just blurring out that section of the screen or something. But I could very easily have not noticed at the time that it was exposing the code, and just put it up there, and once it's up there, it's too late. You can't take it down. Scott says the handshake is a thing of the past now. That's right. Hugs. Yes. Let's replace handshake with hugs. Chris said YouTube David Bombay, is it Bombay? Bombell did a good vid on this unit on the Flipper Zero, I guess. Michael said, does your family have the code in case I need to ID you? Yeah, in case my face is so disfigured and the rest of my body is partly decomposed and my teeth are missing, then Maybe my RFID chip could be used. No, my DNA has now been sequenced, so I've got that. That could be used. If I can't be identified by DNA, then there's not much of me left. Scott says he'll be mistaken for a puppy. All right. Hang on. Scott said, woohoo, COVID round 4. Are you saying that you have COVID for the 4th time? Or are you saying that I don't know. I don't understand. Please explain, Scott. Imogen said, would you consider getting a newer chip with more protection for... sorry, I can't even read properly. What Imogen is asking is, would I get a newer implant? Short answer is yes, I would. And I would do it... What I would do it for is something that is more useful, like being able to make NFC payments, like credit card payments, being able to swipe my hand on a credit card scanner instead of using a credit card. That would actually be kind of cool. Scott said hugs transmit COVID too. Yes, I know. That was my joke. We're not handshaking anymore because it's too much physical contact, so it's got to be replaced with hugs. No, Imogen, that's fine. I understand. I got the point. My brain just couldn't parse the words properly. And yeah, I would consider doing it. I would get I'd get something that had a lot more flexibility, because I don't want to just keep putting implants in myself. Let's have a look at what, let's reuse this tab. Dangerous things. Let's go and check out what Amal is doing at Dangerous Things. And he was doing some interesting stuff. So last time I talked to Amal, he was working on some RFID chips that he had designed himself. Oh, these are cool. NFC plus LED implant, because I would really like something that is actually reactive. If there was an LED under the skin that glowed, that would be really cool. I would consider getting one of these. So XS IID NFC plus LED implant. Anyway, he was working on some stuff that was on a flex PCB, so it wasn't, I don't think it was inside the glass. Our products, let's just go and have a look at our products. Accessories, implants, wearables. Yeah, now that I'm looking at this, oh, here we go, flex implantables. This is the stuff that he was working on a little while ago. And ooh, I don't know that I would be brave enough to do this one. Yeah, it was this sort of style, I think, was the first one that I saw that he was working on. So this is a Tesla Flex keycard implant. It's an exercise in converting a Tesla Model 3 keycards into a Flex implant. Yeah. Oh yeah, because Amy Double D did the Viva Key project. So this is Amy implanted this chip. Where did she put it? I think it was in her left. Oh, it's that doesn't even work anymore. Let's see if Amy's site has a link to it. Somewhere she had a, oh yeah, is that RFID? I don't know. RFID, where is it? Don't know. Projects. Yeah. Is there an RFID thing in here? No. No implant stuff. Yeah, I can't remember if she actually did the implant or not. I don't know. Where is it? Repositories. NFC. No. RFID. No. Anyway, I'm just chasing more squirrels now. Flex NT. Oh, this is the one. This is the first one, I think, that Amal was working on. Yeah. 5mm flex needle install included. Kind of daunting. Yeah, oh, this shows the idea is that it can go, because it's flex and it's thin, it can go into places that you wouldn't normally put an RFID implant, like where they would be prone to breakage, like on the outside of your finger, so that you could fist bump a lock to unlock it, or a payment device to pay for things. But hang on, let's get back to come on, implants. Oh, maybe it was on the home page. Where were the implants with the, here we go, with the LEDs. I like these. So what have we got? 13.56 megahertz, an NFC type 2, 2 by 15 millimeters, so it's kind of a largish implant. It's so we've got user writable memory. It's only 1K, 888 bytes. It's not even 1K of memory. Integrated power harvesting LED indicator. Yep. So of course there's no battery in this. It's just, it takes power from the electromagnetic field that is generated by the reader. Someone with 3 implants. That's kind of cool. Glowing from underneath there. Reading there. Yeah. What color? I don't know. So what does this one do? Alright, so we've got NFC type 2, user writable memory. Can we do payments with this? LED indicator tied to the energy harvesting pins. You can store website URLs, contact details, arbitrary binary data. Yeah, okay, so looks like that's all it can do. Can't make payments, damn it. Alright, what I would really like is one that can make payments. Yeah, Austin says blue in one hand, red in the other. No, not red and blue. It needs to be red and green. And it needs to be red on the left and green on the right. Let's see who Yes, Tradie got it right away. Or if you really, really want to screw with someone, yeah, with a Bodhi, put red on the right and green on the left. Oh, Dodgy says Matrix was red and blue. Red pill, blue pill. Yeah. That's got so many bad connotations now, though. It's all been... The whole red pill thing has been... it's been co-opted. Yes. Yeah, Chris says, must be red left, green right. Yeah. Co-opted? Co-opted. Yes. I didn't get the Matrix reference. I just went to... when it was talking about different colours on different sides, I just immediately went to port and starboard. That's all I thought about. So I suppose it would depend where I got it, if it was in the webbing or... Anyway, and which side. So as to which color I would get. Can't make payments though. It's just an NFC tag, like a, yeah, that's not nearly as interesting. Come on, let's find, can't make payments with this chip implant. Making payments with an implant. Okay, so we need a type that can do contactless payments. Oh, I'm not going to read all of that now. No, no, no. Way too much. I can read that in my own time. Oh, yeah. Oh, Chip says, when LEDs first came out in green, had them on my car as nav lights. Yeah. Oh, Any Mule says, red light returning. Red right returning. Red right oh, okay. So that's mnemonic for the direction. So if you're looking at a boat and you see red is on the right, it means it's returning, as in coming towards you. I don't know. Oh, Simon said, just implant ESP Mini, Wi-Fi, NFC, and use it as a programmable over OTA, so change as needed. Oh, I wish I could. I wish I could do like an energy harvesting sort of thing to keep it recharged. Now, I probably need a implant Arduino. Before I hit enter on this, I probably need a content warning, because there was a project I saw many years ago where someone did the most ridiculous implant ever. All right, we're going to go for it. I'm going to find it. I'm going to freak you out. There we go. This was a ridiculous idea. Totally ridiculous. So, yeah. Look what it's doing to the skin. When was this? This was quite a few years ago. It was... where are we? Hang on. Oh, that's all CircuitPython stuff. Had implanted in his arm, video on motherboard. Alright, I'm going to... video in a video, but I'm not going to play it. I'm just going to skip through and find... Oh, yeah, there is... there's Tim talking about the implant. And basically, like, they show it at some point. I'm going to see if I can find it. What he did was, like, almost literally take an Arduino and stick it inside his arm. Like, look how big this thing is. It's crazy. It's like, you know, I don't know what the analogy would be. Like a small packet of cigarettes or something. Cut your skin open and implant it under the arm. I'm trying to... Somewhere there was a picture of the actual device that was implanted, and it was so crude. Yeah. Where are we? Oh, there we go. I think this is it. Do we get a better view? Yeah, you can't really see it all that well. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit so that you can see. It looks like there's a big battery there, and there's a coil. I think the coil was for inductive charging, and the actual microcontroller board is huge. It's not... I don't think... It wasn't... As far as I know, it wasn't even a custom board. It was just like a dev board wired to a battery with an inductive charging module stuck inside a plastic case and sealed, and then implanted under the skin. Like, blah. Come on, we can do better than that. Let's get out of that. Keith says, I hope he took the headers off. Yeah. Stephen says, so much nope. Yeah. Oh, it's... To me, I think what really irks me about that project is not the fact... It's not the squeamishness of, you know, of doing the implant procedure. It's like it was a lowest common denominator. Just grab a board, grab a battery, squish it together, put it in a case, and we're done. It's like, come on, put some effort into the engineering. Make it like neat and integrated and small, minimal, minimal footprint and all that sort of thing. Dodgy says, what solder did he use? Breadboarding on the body. Scott says, let the headers poke through the skin. Breadboarding on the body. Yeah, and outside the box says, imagine airport security when they saw that. Yeah, no fly list for life. Oh, Joe says, I hope the battery doesn't puff up. Yeah, something tells me that he does not have that implant anymore. That story was from quite some years ago. I highly suspect that it was removed not very long after all of that media coverage. It was kind of a let's do this for shock value situation rather than let's design this carefully and build something that is useful and that can be lived with for a long period of time. Incognito said, stick a propeller in a vein to keep it charged. You say that, but there have been some projects done, because one of the biggest problems with implants, and I'm not talking about necessarily just gratuitous implants like this. So a lot of this stuff is gratuitous. It's just doing it because, hey, why not? And as Imogen said, 15 minutes of fame. Yeah. But there are many legitimate medical implants. Like there are things like insulin management systems and pacemakers, and there are so many situations where implant technology can be useful for medical reasons. And the big problem is, well, there are many problems, but one of the big problems is how do you power it? Active electronics needs a power source. RFID is fine because it's passive and generally you don't actually need it doing anything other than when you're scanning it, which means that you can harvest energy from the field generated by the reader, power up the electronics, run whatever needs to be done, and then the rest of the time it's passive. So the chip in my arm most of the time is doing absolutely nothing. It's dead. It's not powered up. It's not responding to anything. It's only when I put it near a reader that it powers up. So it doesn't need a battery. But if you have a device that needs to be running 24/7, I mean, think about how often you have to charge your phone or your smartwatch or whatever. They're constantly on the charger. And if you can't plug into your arm and then leave it plugged in for like an hour to recharge the battery, how are you going to do it? You can have like a clip-on inductive charging system, but then are you going to be clipping that on every day to recharge whatever device is under your skin? Oh, Alan says, night to you all. Good night. So this is, so for legitimate medical reasons, there is a need to generate power for implanted devices. Austin just said they've been able to generate power from body heat. Yeah, so there are many things. There's been a lot of work done in different areas with different techniques. So using body heat to generate electricity. There was that comment earlier, which I think Incognito said, which I think was flippant, stick a propeller in a vein to keep it charged. But I think there has actually been work done on using blood flow to generate power. And what else has there been? I can't remember. But there have been a few. Muscle activity in general. So maybe leaching some power from muscles as they move. Incognito says vagus nerve stimulators are a thing for various medical purposes, e.g. pain management. Yeah, that's right. So that is an implant that is often placed like in someone's back and can, or maybe this is a different thing, it might be a different location, but I've seen this, I've known a couple of people who have had implants in their back for pain management, and it does nerve stimulation of some kind. I don't know how it works. It's kind of magic. It's amazing that these things do what they need to do. Keith H said solar panels. Chris says gas powered. Solar 2P. how can I mispronounce that word? Anyway, wig. Yeah, I could be solar powered. Yeah, lots of options. Anyway, Dodgy says, where have I seen people turned into human batteries before? Yeah, I'm looking around for a prop. This is all to turn a person into this, a battery. Huh, says Morpheus. Incognito said, using blood flow to power implant a computer in the arm was in a sci-fi book I read. Yeah. Scott says, USB-C port in your navel. So you go to bed and plug yourself in to recharge your implants. Yes, Michael says, I told you this is where Skynet starts. I think Michael mentioned that early in the stream. Okay. Yes. So, Simon said, ESP chip is only 3 millimeters square without the plastic housing. Right. Problem is, it needs several hundred milliamps at startup in order to go through its boot process. I'm pretty sure. Okay. If with the combined talent of Sion and myself and a few other people here, I'm sure that we could design a very, very small ESP-based board that would be implantable. But the problem is power. That is just the killer. Scott says implantable 2-year modules. Okay. Some of these comments are getting interesting. All right. Now, that's right. I mentioned earlier that I had a tab open and to remind myself of something. It's getting close to time, and the reason I had this open is I just realized, like before the live stream started, that it is now a week into January and I have not generated the discount codes for my Patreon supporters and GitHub sponsors. And so I opened this tab as a reminder to myself. So there is... This is getting into total shilling territory. There's this Support Superhouse link on the top of the page, and it's got links to things like the GitHub sponsors page, Patreon if you wanted to support me on Patreon, Coffee, etc., affiliate links which go from my gear page. So if you're looking for interesting equipment and you want to see the gear that I use, I've got information here about all the soldering gear I use, like the type of microscope and soldering irons and solder and test gear and hand tools and all those sorts of things. And some of these are affiliate links. So anyway, the point of all of this is I had this page open because I'm going to do my best not to forget. It's minutes and minutes away, so it's highly likely that I will have totally forgotten by the end of the stream. But after the stream, I will endeavor to generate the discount code for starting in January, because the discount codes just go for a certain period of time, and I will email that out to my GitHub sponsors and Patreon supporters and post it in figure out a way to post it on Coffee for supporters there as well. So anyway, if you fall into one of those categories, hopefully you'll get a message sometime after this live stream with a discount code for you. Oh, that one's funny. David says, So this is referring to an implantable 2-year device. David T said, gives their company name a whole new meaning. Get that into you. Yeah. Get that to you, into you. Keith H said, write yourself a post-it. I have post-its. The problem is that I now have a pile of post-its, which means I'm not even going to see it. ESP etched on that plastic material that is used as cables, that yellow flat strip cable, don't know the name. Yeah, that is Flex. That's like the yellow flat cable strip. What you're talking about there is the same as what has been used on the Flex NT. So if we look at the Flex NT implantable, this thing I had up just a moment ago, this implantable NFC chip, which is done on that substrate. So if we look at Flex PCB, I mean, we could easily make a Flex PCB design with an ESP32 on it. In fact, I am absolutely sure it has already been done. Flex PCB, ESP32. Someone has got to have done this. Where? Anyway, there'll be one. I'm sure of it. Oh, what's this? Uses Flex PCBs, tidy board rework. I don't know what's on that. Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time looking through this now, but we could make a Flex PCB with an ESP32 on it that would be implantable. What is... Oh, Greg. Greg is always doing way out there stuff. Into an itsy bitsy. Okay, so Greg made the Obsidian Boa. Oh, this is from a couple of years ago, year and a half ago. So on a little board. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Greg DeVille does crazy board fabrication stuff. He's an artist with solder paste. Greg DeVille, Twitter. I can't remember. Yeah. Let's find some. Yeah, anyway. We're chasing. Was it designer board, assembler board, photographer board, repeat? Design, assemble. I was just wondering if that was a render. No. It looks so clean, that looks like a render. So sharp. The photography in that is amazing. All right. If you're into PCB fab stuff, go and check out at Greg DeVille on Twitter. You probably can't read that. There you go. Greg DeVille does really cool stuff. What am I talking about? Yeah. I've gone brain locked for a moment. All right, somebody tell me something. What should I be doing? Okay, I got sidetracked from the whole. What a surprise! I got tracked from the whole RFID tattoo situation. So, first question: should I do it at all? I kind of want to. I want to get a tattoo. I want to get a tattoo on my arm of the RFID symbol of something that in my arm. And if should it look like? I'm not entirely sure, but I kind of like the idea of doing a line represents the position. So basically just it's complaining that I'm sending data faster than YouTube can accept it, which is, am I talking to myself? No to tat. I have no idea if I'm talking to myself. It's working strange for me. Oh, right. Steve. Oh, any mules. That's an interesting suggestion. Steve. She's dead. Okay, it seems to be very patchy. I've got some people saying it's working and some people saying it's not. Back now, but way behind. Okay. Well, I think that means that I need to bail. I'm going to type it just because I don't know if you can hear me. Five minutes to lunch. So I'm going to give up and hit the end button on this stream. Back now? Yeah, but it's very intermittent. Okay, so I'm typing what I'm saying as well, just for the benefit of people. Oh, Killer Geek says, have a look at Kevin Warwick. He does cyborg interfaces. Yeah, but yeah, there are some issues with Kevin. I don't really be going down a Kevin Warwick squirrel chasing exercise. Ending it now that it's working again. Okay, so hopefully it's back for people. Maybe then the end will be a proper end and not just oh, it's all broken and everybody walk away. Yeah, so Kevin Warwick. Interesting. Problematic in some ways. I think it'd be really interesting to meet Kevin. Is Kevin still even around? I know that's a strange thing to say, but I'm just going to do a quick search. Kevin Warwick. It is so many years since oh yeah, he is still around. Age 68. It's so many years since I've heard of him doing anything that I was not even... Yes, I was not even aware of that he was still alive, which is a weird thing to say. Maybe he is still doing things. Oh, Ecognito said, what was the Steve thing about? I think that was a suggestion for the tattoo. So put the word Steve over the chip, and then the brackets are like signal strength symbols. Simon is determined for me to not get a tattoo. No tattoo, you'll regret it later. Maybe, maybe not. But I'm kind of sick of living a life of regretting things I haven't done. I think I would rather regret having done things than regret having not done them. And so I've been adjusting my perspective on life over the last while, probably for a number of, in fact, I know it's been for many years. It's been a long, slow process. But my perspective on life now is different, shall I say, to what it was when I was in my 20s and 30s, etc. Yeah, it is much more, it's much more, I'm alive now, I'm here today, and I want to make the most of it. I don't know what I'll be able to do tomorrow. Whether it'll be more or less than I can do now, it'll be different. So I'm living more in the moment. Killer Geek said, are you going to get a Dangerous Things XS IID NFC plus LED implant? I kind of like to, but yeah, I would really like to get an implant that is visible. I think that would be really cool. But I would prefer to get one that allows me to do things like payments, not that is just a basic NFC tag. Dodgy says, sounds like a midlife crisis, go buy yourself a motorbike. No, I had my midlife crisis a long time ago. No, it's just changing perspectives. So I am going to go. I'm going to wrap it up for today. Feels like it's been just a no topic live stream. Classic random, random train of thought thing. But I enjoy talking to you all. So thank you for coming along. This is interesting. So Chip said, this is one of the differences between us. I've always erred on the side of safety and haven't achieved anything as a result. Don't say that. Okay. I understand what you're saying about erring on the side of safety. I don't agree with haven't achieved anything as a result. I have generally not been risk averse. I talked about this when I did that stream about neurodiversity and risky behavior. And so I suppose in many ways I have exhibited risky behavior throughout my life. I've done many things that should have got me killed, and it's kind of just luck that I'm still even alive. But that can express itself in different ways. There are different types of risks. You can take physical risks, you can take risks in terms of things like financial risks, making decisions that could have big payoffs but also big downsides. Oh boy, this is opening up a whole thing. There is a concept that I came across a long time ago. Like, I think back in my early 20s, I came across this concept called deep play. And I don't know. Ooh, Johnny! Thank you for the memberships. That's very generous. I'm just going to look up deep play because I'm not even sure if I'm remembering this correctly. No, I don't think I am. So it's a term adapted by anthropologist Clifford Geertz from the writings of Jeremy Bentham in The Theory of Legislation, 1802. Yeah, so I remember the origins of this being early 19th century. So Jeremy Bentham, and I think all right, so I'm not going to get into the whole actual early Jeremy Bentham stuff and the true origins of the term deep play. In fact, I'm not even going to get into the true meaning of the term deep play. The point of what I was wanting to get at is there are certain activities where how do I put this? The benefit or the positive outcome of success is small, and the downside or the negative outcome of failure is great. Now, an example of that would be, so this is really where I came across it. I think I came across it in a discussion of philosophy around and mindset around rock climbing, because I was really into rock climbing for a long time and did frankly stupid things like free climbing really big cliffs, which means free climbing is no protection. If you fall, you die. And that's an example because the benefit, okay, so you've got a big cliff in front of you and you want to climb it. So you climb it. If you succeed, what have you achieved? There is really no benefit. You got up there and now you're going to walk around and come back down again. You haven't actually really gained anything in some senses by doing it. So the benefit of success is small. But if you fail and you fall, you die. So the negative side of failure is big. And that is an example of the sort of behavior or risk that some people are willing to take. And it's the sort of risk that I have taken in the past. And some people are more inclined to that sort of risk or that sort of behavior. And some people are totally averse to it. Like they will only undertake activities if the benefit and the positive outcome from success is really big and the deficit or the negative outcome from failure is really small. So even if you fail, the ramifications aren't too bad. But if you succeed, then it's going to have a really good benefit. And of course, that's what we all want to happen. We all want those situations where we're going to do something and then get a big benefit from it, and there is very low risk. But some people have brains that allow them to do these things where the deficit or the negative outcome of failure is really, really big. And they can be the sort of people who start businesses or go off on expeditions in the wilderness, or just do the sorts of things that most people or the average person thinks is too scary, or it's too much going out on a limb and risking it all. So I suppose I'm one of those people that falls on the side of being open to risky behavior. Yes. So, oh, there's a quote here. People who don't take risks generally make about 2 big mistakes a year. People who do take risks generally make about 2 big mistakes a year. Peter Drucker. That's an interesting quote. Thanks, Incognito. Yeah. Yes. David says the benefit is controlling your fear. Feel the fear, then do it anyway. Yeah, that's right. Right. Okay, I think I am going to wrap it up now. The thing is that we could get into all sorts of discussions about... Chip has been on me a little bit and saying we should do another session about neurodivergence and ADHD, and I do really want to do that. I think that's an interesting thing. And in fact, that is one of the reasons. Right near the start of this stream, I talked about how I've been cleaning up around the factory and setting up the front area for doing interviews. I'm going to set up that desk with 3 cameras, so that what I can do is have a couple of people facing each other across the desk and have 2 face cameras and a perspective camera, so that I can have people come in and do, just have conversations with me, do like interview style things or just chatting about different subjects. Part of the motivation for that is when Chip came in last time and we were both sitting here in front of the camera, it's quite awkward. It's difficult to just set it up from a physical point of view. And I want to be able to do that sort of thing again. And I would like to do another session where we're talking about things like neurodivergence and different people's experiences and the way brains work, because that is a fascinating thing. It's not quite on... Yeah, it's a little bit off topic in terms of home automation, but it fascinates me and I want to learn more about it. So yeah, I want to do that sort of thing. But for now, I'm going to wrap it up. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk. And yes, Chip says, I'd like to introduce Imogen for the ND discussion. Yeah, so there are... That's the thing. When I brought this up the first time, it really opened the floor to people saying, yes, that some of this applies to me as well. And I was surprised by how many people came up to me afterwards or messaged me or whatever and said, thanks for talking about that so openly. It's this sort of thing affects me too, but I just haven't talked about it publicly. So there are plenty of people who would who I could have on the stream talking about issues related to neurodiversity, not just ADHD. It's much broader than that, and that would be a very nice thing to do. So where's this end button? Okay, wrapping it up. I am going to try to do more videos. One of the reasons that I did the 2 vlogs recently was to get myself back into the habit of running the camera, talking to the camera, which seems silly when I do these live streams all the time, but doing it for an edited video just feels quite different. Now that I've done those vlogs, I'm kind of back in the groove. I'm going to start doing some proper videos again, not just live streams. So keep an eye out for those. They'll be coming soon. And I will talk to you all really, really soon. Oh, I was about to end. One thing. Does any... This is gonna be totally out of left field. Does anybody in Melbourne want to go axe throwing with me? I just put this question out at the gym that I go to, and I had a bunch of people who say they've done it and it's really fun, you should do it. So I'm thinking maybe even next weekend, like next Saturday, if you're in Melbourne and you feel like going axe throwing, it's something I've never done before. This is part of the whole thing of I'm just going to start doing crazy things that I've never done before for the hell of it. I don't know if I'll love it or hate it, do it once, never do it again, or if it'll be my new favorite thing. But what the hell? Give it a try. Go and throw some axes. So, Incognito said, with you or at you. Elaine said, you can't get off, you keep going on, you're right. So, I was thinking of booking a session at Maniacs or at Lumberjacks and going down with a bunch of people. Whoever wants to come along, we can meet up there and throw some axes and have a good time. If that seems like your thing, maybe jump on Discord and message me or something. I don't even know how I'd organize it, but yeah. As Imogen says, Carpe diem, yeah, seize the day. Stephen says, John, I've done stuff that could have killed me. Also, John, who wants to go axe throwing with me? Yeah. All right. I am really going to go this time. I keep saying that. I've got to just press the button. Please jump on Discord and have a chat with me or message me on Facebook or Twitter or Mastodon or whatever method floats your boat. Send me a message, phone, call me on the telephone, and we will go axe throwing. Next up, chainsaw juggling. Maybe not. But anyway, thank you for coming to this stream, and go and build something awesome. Where's the button? There.